So apparently, and I've kind of discussed some of this before, thankfully, it's like a little more concrete. And I don't want to be right on stuff like this, but it's just a reality. That some people see the Rippaverse as a threat in a place that I feel like they should not see it as a threat but there's a guy here that just flat out admits it. I'm not going to do too much scene setting here because a lot of this came from a conversation about another narrative, which I may do maybe another segment on or another video on, but let's just dive right into this. So this is talking about the Rippaverse and our model. We have a pre-order model. We deliver on our products because we're able to, make sure that we have the book already done and products are already completed. And so that allows us to be able to have a quick turnaround within our campaigns. And so this gentleman had this to say. I'm going to read this first bit for you. And in reply to another guy, he says, he, as in me, is not providing an alternative to the mainstream. He's providing an alternative to publishing via crowdfunding. That is, and this is what he says, is a threat to crowdfunding publishers that already aren't making a whole lot of money. So what he's saying is that my model and our approach is a threat to people's publishing because they are late or some of these publishers are not delivering, and therefore the fact that I do, which is, again, it's kind of crazy approach, the fact that I do is threatening to them. And that's what, I kind of figured that's where a lot of the shots started coming from, is that I guess people are looking at what we do at the Rippaverse and they'll say, hey, well, the Rippaverse is doing it this way. And some people feel some kind of way that there's an expectation going to be levied at them in comparison. Look, I want to be clear here. I do not personally believe that every single freaking crowdfunding project that's the norm. The norm is that there's no delivery, there's no communication with backers. Like, to me, that's just not the case. I've had experience where that, it is and isn't the case, but I don't want to operate as if that's some sort of like standard. It's not. You guys have maybe even supported some projects and you got it in a relatively a reasonable, let's say, window. And you certainly, if there was a hiccup in the process, it wasn't like you were just not in contact with your people that have invested, in some people's cases, thousands upon thousands of dollars. And then he flat out admits this. He said, what is the biggest complaint against crowdfunding comics? The long wait. What problem has Rippaverse solved? The long wait. And again, a little bit of a different model because we don't crowdfund, right? But I get it. Says, can other crowdfunders compete with this? No. Does this impact Marvel DC market share? No. Does this impact crowdfunding market share? Yes. So he's saying that we're not impacting Marvel and DC's market share. We're instead impacting crowdfunding market share because I guess he thinks that those people will find me as a threat, or he sees me as a threat, and those people will look at the other, like, I guess people entering crowdfund, which again doesn't make sense because we don't crowdfund. I know we use the sort of campaign format, and I guess he's thinking that, or he believes that, well, people are less inclined to support them because, see, this is the whole communistic fixed pie approach that I'm trying to get people out of, because just because I'm seeing success or the Rippaverse sees success does not mean that it's a knock on someone else's success, right? You shouldn't look at it that way. However, I will say this. I'll be honest. I'll be completely honest. Yes, there are going to be people that prefer my model, 100%. With that being said, I do think there are people that are in crowdfunding that can do our model. They just choose not to. Now, that's not a question for me to answer. I can only speculate as to why they don't. And I only really think my speculation is important on that, because there are some people that have made a lot of money doing crowdfunding comics. And if you do feel like my model is the superior model, they can do something that's more closer to what it is that I do. It doesn't need to be an exact replication of it, but they can do something closer to what I do for sure. But that will require like responsible reinvestment. Not everybody can do that, right? Not everybody can do that. I am totally aware of that there is a reason why there is a crowd fund, right? It's for some people, they are needing to fund the project, and the only way that project can be funded is if people, of course, give money to them, and that's that model. So that makes sense for some people. That makes sense for a lot of folks who are not going to be able to finish their product. However, I don't think that this model makes sense for people, especially if they're doing something, let's say in comic book sense. Let's say if you're the writer and the artist, right? So really your money is more so going to be tied up in, let's say if you get someone else to color it and letter it, and obviously the printing of it all, right? But if you have made a lot of money in crowdfunding already, then yeah, if you're responsible with your money and you reinvest it, you can get some you can switch it up. Okay, you can switch it up and have something more akin to what it is that I do, though you shouldn't be pressured into do that. But if the consensus is, well, more people are more inclined to support that, then that only benefits them. And I guess it's a model or a variation of it that's more unique to them. Is something that people can work towards. But you shouldn't look at what I do as a threat, because either way, something being late or a long wait or not being updated, that has nothing to do with money. That has everything to do with being able to analyze the market, being honest, not overpromising. And anybody can do that, right? It requires nothing of you to set a realistic expectation and then be disciplined enough to deliver on it. And many people in crowdfunding do it already. Right? Many people do that. It's not like unique to me. And the fact that we're even talking about this is a little silly to me, because, bro, the standard is and should be, if you say you're going to do something, and especially if you're going to be soliciting or like asking for people's money to do something, you just go do it. Right? That's the standard. Right? That's the norm per se. The norm is not to take people's money, say you were going to do something, and then like halfway deliver it or kind of stumble to it. Like, that's not the norm. That's not it's not the standard here. Okay. I want people to understand that it doesn't matter if you're big or a big $1 million publisher or business owner, or you own a freaking donut shop. Like it's not, that's an easy thing to accomplish, right? Just, hey, I said I was going to do something and I'm going to do it. And the people that have given me money, I'm going to make sure that I'm transparent and they understand that the state of the product, right? If I've asked for it, for the money. So there shouldn't be a threat there. And the only threat, let's say, if you absolutely have to consider what it is that we're doing is a threat, which you should not do that. But that would only be for people that where there's malpractice, right? Where there's something that funny money, like irresponsibility, bad business practices. If you find me a threat, you must be doing something like that, right? And again, that's not the norm. That's not the standard. Me simply saying, hey, pre-order product, I will deliver it to you around this time. I didn't create that model. I'm not the only one doing this. I'm not the first one to do it. Not even close. That is literally a standard business practice. Okay. But I did find that interesting that some people, and again, I guess the honesty is appreciated. And that, I guess starts to make sense why some people levy what they do at me, because they look at this whole independent thing, especially in comics, as this monolithic fixed pie. And so they think me doing well, my company doing well, means that it's a knock on what someone else is doing, or a threat, as in this case, in this person's case. And it shouldn't be that way. You should not ever see it like that. I'm not in anybody's way. I'm willing to give advice. I'm willing to help people out. Hell, I even have a series that we started talking about, like making money in comics. Dude, I have no issues giving people advice on my approach. You should never see me as a threat. I am not in your way, right? And it shouldn't bring you about envy. It shouldn't bring you about jealousy. And it shouldn't be a knock to what someone else is doing at all. And if you see it that way, there is a problem there. I'm not your enemy. I'm not in your way. Alpha Core #1's pre-order is live. Written by the legendary Chuck Dixon and penciled by Joe Bennett. Visit Rippaverse.com to grab a copy and any of the merchandise items. Be sure to also check out the animated trailer for the campaign, which is the latest project from Rippaverse Studios. Y'all be easy.